Hey, Al, Floyd here. I thought I'd just start throwing these little videos on YouTube and let you pick them up. So anytime you kind of bring a deal, I'm going to quickly analyze it from my point, your standpoint, and see how we might want to do a deal with it. So just based on what you told me today, you and your wife was looking around, you saw some land in Clintonville. So I said, okay, let me just kind of like do a quick comp and calculate. I know you're trying to do a single family, so I said, let me just base it on a single family, and I will work it in different ways. So kind of follow my thought here, because I was actually just kind of scribbling it through just to get it to work right in my mind. I'm gonna try to transfer to your mind. So basically buying, selling, stabilize. Those are the three things I'm focusing on right now. So obviously the buying part, that's something that, you said we're going to talk about and look at starting getting together this week and driving around and seeing some stuff. So I just plugged in the number you gave me so far, which was $115,000 for the land and soft cost. I'm hoping. Maybe not. It's all in the build cost. But anyways, I estimated what you're trying to build. If we can get $165 a square foot, and I really think that's what we should get. And if we can get less, that's great. But I'm tired of playing this, I hope we can get it under this and this and this. No, I already know the national average. I'm willing to go a little bit above the national average. But I think 165, 175 max is probably going to be our square foot build. Maybe a little higher end, which based on these numbers, the area at Clintonville, I've kind of pushed the envelope on this build. So I don't know what the land looks like, and I might be totally off. But the good thing about it is I'll straighten these numbers up so maybe you can understand them, read them better. But for now, I'm just going to like quickly go through them so I can go to bed because it's late. And I'm going to let you know what, after all this calculation, why this F. But it's not what you think. Anyways, but this is all based on Clintonville, okay? $115,000. Based on the 165 a square foot, we've got a 412,500 build price, and this build price should incorporate everything from ground to the front door. So we got to make sure that works for us. I think it does when you see the final, but if we have to take it in one direction or another, we can. So then you always have closing costs. I'm going to estimate 1%. Everything is negotiable. So even at 1%, I'm not saying we're going to get it right off the rip, but hey, down the road, if you're doing some stuff and you're giving the lender a business, that even go down to maybe 3/4 or 0.34, and it's a little bit of savings. I mean, you're not making. I mean, based on all your expenses and costs on this right here, you're not killing yourself with 1%. It's such a smaller part. But these guys that put these numbers together, they're not out there in the field. They're not lifting one shovel. They're behind the desk. They know the calculations. They know the market. They just click, click, boom. But anyways, let's keep moving. After all this land purchasing, closing costs, I've got the true build cost of this house at $531,000, and I'm sorry, $531,740,000 as built. So now that's not market, because then we come here and we're going to sell it for $689,000. Okay, so let's see how that's going to work out based on what you want to do, Al. So the first thing I did was I just Googled Clintonville, and then I said, okay, Clintonville's a decent area, upper median people. So I said, let me just do some looking up on the upper medium class people in Columbus, and there's I Googled it. So anyways, but the median home price, let me kind of explain this to you. This was my criteria to find this. Okay, so then I went to Clintonville and I looked up the median house payment. Well, I'm sorry, this is Columbus, all of Columbus. So don't take in consideration those. You got to understand there's probably people out there paying, $20,000-$30,000 a month for their house. So, but I would guess if somebody's paying, $20,000-$30,000 a month, they would be classified, in this category of this bell graph, which is not, where am I? Not the median, but that would be the upper crust echelon, the I don't know who you want to put in that category, but there's probably a lot. But we're focusing on this grouping of people. So you can sell a little better product in this market, providing we get our build cost and our closing cost and all this stuff laid out. We can tell our GC we want a little better of a product here. We want not necessarily build a grade all the way up. We're going to probably make some, some executive decision what goes inside. But for the most part, I kind of like the numbers jiving for the Clintonville area. So if I kind of go back here and you kind of understand that that's what you're going to sell this price for, that's what you're going to build this price for, I feel comfortable with these costs. Now, going over here, let's say you want to just go ahead and sell off because that's what you're going to do, and I'm okay with that, man, because that's what we do. Selling 8, you're going to have a 6% commission you're going to pay out, blah, 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 plus or minus. Just depends on how we structure this deal, if we want to use one realtor to do everything or however. So everything's negotiable. Matter of fact, I put these little dots right here to remind me that just about every one of these processes you're going to be wheeling and dealing and negotiating. So a lot of negotiating. So it's going to be important. Anyway, so we're selling it. So once you sell it, you subtract that commission. You got a $41,000 commission payout. Ouch! But that's what it takes people to get this stuff down. So your net selling is $647,660. Okay, minus your as-built cost. Where is that at? That's right here. That's the total cost of what it took to put this thing together for that property in there, Clintonville. Next, you got your gross profit of $115,000 gross profit. Split it, pay it, however you want to do it, reinvest it. That's going this route, Now, I did this because the only thing I don't particularly care about single family homes on a stabilization side is that they're single homes. I mean, you love them, you want to sell them and put them out there. But just for my thought process thinking here on out, I'm not saying this single family home can't be stabilized as well to the point where it can purchase, but I realize that even if you stabilize an asset that you try to plan to make quick money on, plan on stabilizing it as insurance. Okay, so that doesn't mean just go out there and let's get our money out of it and get burned and it just sits or doesn't sell and we didn't have a contingency for that. So when I say all that, to say all this, I said one word and I forgot to cover it. It's contingency. I'm always going to build a contingency into just about anything we do because shit happens, right? All right, so we're in Clintonville. We done found out the medians, the history. I went ahead and found out the average. What is this? The income, the average household incomes of each of Columbus. This is the average household income in Columbus. Now we know Clintonville's kind of a little more upper, so Actually, I rounded up to 50. It was like 48, but let's say 50. But this is a good number to know, household income of 50,000. So obviously people are working in the household, so this tells me it's a pretty good place to look. Believe it or not, I even looked up some of the rental rates because you got to do that for stabilization, which I'll talk about. Anyways, vacancy 4.1. We always estimate 5, but they actually did the numbers. Here in Columbus, it's 4.1. If you want to look at this is basically how many people are staying in the house. So it's averaging out to be a 2.1. I mean, that's basically a 2-person. So basically, this is like saying 2 people in a home, and maybe that's a baby. Maybe it's maybe it's some maybe it's not born yet. But and I could have got some more information to help us make decisions as to whether this is going to be a good investment. But later. And I'm going to probably wrap it up here because I got to go. But I want to cover stabilization real quick and get you the reason for the F. Okay. So this is the part on this one I would look at. Okay. Now I'm not saying I can't jump in on this if you want to partner up on this. Okay. That's your call, man. This is your deal. You're fine. You set it up. You structure it however you want. And we just lock up on it with the partnership agreement. Boom, bada bing, pop. Anyways, another topic that we can kind of go over in another session. But anyways, the one thing you gotta want to understand it to the point, and I'm realizing this, not you or everybody, but just me, is LTV. I'm gonna lock it in my head so it just kind of it just goes on to everything. So I have to understand this myself in order to get an understanding. So my numbers are going to be kind of off, but I can restructure them to make it a little bit more, board friendly. But hey, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just like, let me recap this before I forget, because you know how I do. Anyways, back here on stabilization. So I took an 80% LTV, a 95% LTV, and a 70% LTV. And I did this for just to kind of give you an idea as to what this does. And at this point, we're not really talking about the money you got to come to the closing table or got to like what you're going to get, but we'll talk about it more. But here I got 80T. So we take an 80% LTV of this selling price is going to put you at 551,000. So we're going to take that 551,000 and we're going to subtract it from this, right? And this is going to give us a amount we're going to have to come out of our pocket and take to the closing table. Do you know what I mean? So this is what an 80% LTV is going to do. And then when we go to get it, we're going to close, but we got to bring $19,460. And good, bad, no. Well, I told you I'm not trying to lock down my cash, but I don't like that so far. But 80% is kind of like, I'm going to drop 20% down on it anyway. So basically I can come to the closing table with $19,460. That's like dropping a down payment. So what does that do? What is that going to look like? Well, I kind of had to look a little deeper, and I realized that doing that, if I had I was doing an investor deal with a high interest loan gouger type of, the hard money lender, okay? I would basically work this deal, paid $137,800 to, or a piece of that to him, and move on. Safe, usually 80%. You don't have to come to the table with something all the time, seems like, but that's kind of how that's going to work out. So Can you still do this with no money? Yeah, we're going. I don't even want to. That's another night. Anyways, I'm going to go with this example here. So now, what if we do 95% LTV, loan to value? 95% is what hard money lenders or some private investor or bankers will do for you. If they feel strongly about this number that you're presenting to them with your steps to get to this number, you'll be able to find some people out there that give you 95% LTV. So if I break that down, LTV, loan to value. So what we got here is Actually, this is being used as the value, right? So I'm telling the banks that you can build it for this. They place the 80, 90, or 70% off of this number. So let's do 80% of 689. That's going to leave you a $200,000 loan that the bank is going to give us. However, we still got to come to the table with $20,000, but that's okay because you got to have a stake in the game to play the game. If that's the plan you want to go with, and these are kind of like FA conventional. Sometimes you get FHA with some down payments and stuff like that, but we'll talk about that. Anyways, done. Okay, this one's kind of interesting because this one will get your money back at the closing table. If we do 95%, looky here, you putting together the first one, you can just $34,450 is kind of like, all right, okay. This is I was hoping to make more money, but that's at the closing table. You're cashing out $122,000 on this deal right now. So depends on how you want it. The money's there, but depends on how you want to look at it. So for me, and I'm not even looking at this as a stabilized income as far as the single family homes, because to me, I don't like stabilizing single family homes. They just, if they ever go vacant for a month or a year, it's a serious cost, But you got that double. At least you can at least stabilize it by 50%. And I'm thinking that's kind of be good for a lot of banking opportunities. I mean, obviously, if you can get it under 50, so like at 4 units, you get an easier loan for that over one, just because of the stabilization rates. And I think banks have really kind of get into stabilization, but they want to sell money. They want to sell their money, anyways. And I want to take advantage, but I don't want to sit there and obviously use my cash. So I'm not even no. Anyways, all right. So we're down here 206. Let's talk about this number right here. So this would be my favorite number. Okay, if I was going to buy and hold this property. So let's go back here to a 70% stabilization, and you can get it done. But here's what it's going to take to get it done. All right. So what's happening here is that you find a lender and they're usually easy to do, because if you're going to, if you still want the house after you get a refinance for a loan to value of 70%, what you're doing is you're taking the balance here and you're subtracting it from here. All right, and what's that giving you? I believe that's giving you your max. Well, no, it's not. I don't want to get ahead of myself. You take that, subtract this. This is what it costs to build. This is what I call your stabilization capital at this point. Meaning, at this point, now obviously, if we was partner on the deal, this stabilization would probably get split up. But the whole point of me having this puts me in a stronger position to stabilize this asset, which is now $325,000. We built it for that, and that's good enough for me to go and change the original payment $5,560 a month. Now I did make sure tax and insurance and everything was included in that, but honestly, running the number here, well, this is going to be consistent on all these, but I don't want to pay that. That number scares me. So, anyways, but thank God that when I'm going to stabilize an asset, I am going to take the money and just drop it on this to get a new mortgage payment with plenty of equity there. So if you figure that's what I owe, and that's what we sold it at, right? Did I make any money at the closing table? No, because I took now if I wanted to take a draw out of this and say, hey, here's my fee for doing this development, boom, take it, it might be, my whole point is not to drain this, because this is the strongest part of wealth building, the stabilization of your capital, of this one property. So I just want to leave you with this. And that's where I'm at. This is where you're at. Now, in order for me, if you want me to take this asset and work the deal on this 115, I think that could be done. Let me think here. So we got 115 gross profit if you just do a basic buy and flip. Now, if I come over here and you help me out, broski. Help me out, broski. You help me out. I come over here where this would be my best stabilization deal. That means I need to find a loan for 70% loan to value. So that just simply means I am going to have this massive stabilization capital left over, which my idea is to drop that money before you gets cold or gets hot, where you want to refer to it, on your build cost, which takes that down to $325. You finance it out. Your monthly payments are $2,400 a month. So it's hard for me to. Yeah, that's a good payment for a house if you wanted to live in it too. So that's definitely a good program if you want to do that. So, not, if this is a house that you and Juanita like, and you think it could be that next home where you can save money, build this and have it valued at this, and walk away with a $2,400 a month payment. I mean, I don't know. I'm just spitballing because you told me about the deal. I said, we're in this, man. But if there's anything, man, that you want to talk about, let me know. If you wanted to help me stabilize this, I would want to make sure I could maybe split that with you. Maybe I could take a little bit more for maintenance and service and get a fee out there. So, but I mean, I think based on this number, what you got all excited about on that number, I could probably negotiate. We could probably negotiate something that's more reasonable, I would think that your tax, your tax liability on doing it this way would be better than that way. But I'm not a tax guy, so I don't know. I don't know if you're following all this, but it makes sense to me. Anyways, I'm at the end of this program. I think I covered everything with you. Making this money, different ways we could do this. Yeah, so I could give you that basically, and still have this property being stabilized at a $2,400 a month, or vice versa, however you want. But anyways, the reason I gave this letter up here is because I think there's one more topic, and I'm not covering it tonight because it deserves its whole day to itself. So it might have seemed like we talked about financing, but we didn't. All we talked about was a leverage tool to see if this was worth holding. And I ain't even seen the property, unless it's like, I'm trying to think what's bad in Clintonville that you can't get this, unless it's very specific and, you know, trash cans and everything. Maybe there's a, I don't know, maybe it's a red light district. I don't know. But I think Clintonville's strong, and I would probably go ahead and go with your next steps and try to do some financing. So I guess if that's the case, check out the land, see if it's buildable, which, you know, based on what you're telling me, it is. Yeah, man, that's all I want to talk about, man. I gotta go. To the next one.